But first, we have the live guest for our show. The live guest today on the Rave Show is Ramya Sundareshan Kapadia.
Oh.
She's an artist based right here in Tennessee.
Okay.
In USA. And quite an accomplished artist, specifically Bharathanatyam. She's certainly a very famous dancer. She is the founder of Natyarpana School of Dance.
Okay.
And she's also affiliated with Prakriti School of Dance for audience who are in the DC, Virginia area. Prakriti School of Dance is right here in Maryland. So welcome our live guest, Ramya Sundareshan Kapadia, to the Rave Show.
Oh, welcome, Ramya.
दिल धड़कने का सबब याद आया दिल धड़कने का सबब याद आया वो तेरी याद थी वो तेरी याद थी अब याद आया दिल धड़कने का सबब याद आया
Oh, beautiful, mesmerizing.
Beautiful. So beautiful. We kind of thought of listening to it again and again. And
yes, it's
sit there like
very.
that.
I love the rag in this. It's very unique the way it sort of flows. So thank you for that lovely rendition, Ramya.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Our pleasure. Welcome to the Rave Show. And it's truly our privilege to have you, such an accomplished artist, on this show today. And speaking of which, I'm sure Jiju and I would love to know, and our audience as well, about your artistic journey in the USA.
So my artistic journey in the United States actually began in Wisconsin, where I met you, Soumya. Wisconsin, Madison, where I was a grad student. When I met my dance teacher, Kripa Bhaskaran, as I continued learning Bharatanatyam from her, I was also assisting in teaching Bharatanatyam, but I'd always sung back in India as well. And so I continued singing and I continued teaching both privately as well as in the continuing ed program at UW-Madison. I was also involved with a lot of graduate student association things, as I'm sure most students are. And that really helped with understanding, curation, the media and the publicity that goes along with anything related to the arts, as well as performing itself, right? So all the different aspects that were related to performance and the presentation of the arts, I had a great experience. And then when I moved to North Carolina in 2008, the plan was to write my resume and apply for a job in either medical physics or in neuroscience. But I ended up going on tour to sing for Rama Vaidyanathan, who's a really, really well-known dancer. And that opened up a whole new, set of doors. And I never looked back. And I was very fortunate. I just continued. I never wrote that resume.
It always happens, right?
Yeah. And so life took a completely different turn and I just dived into the arts.
That's amazing. I'm so humbled to hear that you followed your passion. Yes, clearly I do remember, Ramya, your performances at the IGSA, the Indian Graduate Students Association events back in Wisconsin.
Oh, really? You remember all those things?
Oh, of course. She's made a mark.
So was she very famous where you studied? I did hear some chemistry between you two. So were you very famous at that time? Was she famous at that time?
Well, I
Dancing
didn't
wise?
know much about Ramya at that time, but I did know that she was an amazing singer, and
I can hear that.
do remember that she was very passionate about dancing as well. So certainly.
So Ramya said, and you probably would have witnessed that, you're a Bharathanatyam exponent, right? If I want to call it that way. What about, I mean, you probably would have thought the same thing, right? There are many other forms of dance, right? Like Bharathanatyam, Kuchipudi, Mohiniyattam, because I come from Kerala, Odissi and things like that. So how come this love for Bharathanatyam? I'm sure that people would want to know.
So that's a really very good question, and I think the way I approach dance or even music really speaks a lot about my whole background of growing up in Bombay, right? So I was introduced. The first dance form that I was introduced to as a way of learning was Bharatanatyam, and so that form kind of just stuck, and I just stuck with it. Just like for singing, I was introduced to Carnatic music, right, as a form of training, and so then I just stuck with it. But growing up in Bombay gave me the opportunity to both be a part of, to learn, as well as to just be to experience various forms of dance and various forms of music. And I had friends that were deeply involved in all of these different forms. So that has always influenced me. So when I put together a show or create any of my own works, I don't think in terms of Bharatanatyam, or
I
I
see.
don't think in terms of Carnatic music. I just think in terms of, like the story that I want to present. And so the best language, the best music, or the best form of dance or movement. So I just think of it in terms of theater and a story that needs to be told, that will make the most sense to both me as well as to the audience.
That makes sense.
Wonderful.
So that is interesting. But at the same time, the ghazal that she sang, it was like put me in a trance, right? So I know Ramya. Everybody watching this show also knows that you are a very good Carnatic singer, and and you just mentioned that also because of your training. But at the same time, I know because of the research that we have done, you've done some popular singing also, popular music singing
Bollywood
also.
singing?
Bollywood singing also. Also
Yes.
some other non-Bollywood movie singing, right? You've done playback singing. And I know for this fact, and I like popular music, I know that the 90s, she has sung with the 90s heartthrob, Lucky
Lucky
Ali.
Ali.
In Kaho Na Pyaar Hai,
Yes.
right? These are things that I want to bring it out.
Juju's done his
audience.
research clearly.
How did that happen? From Carnatic music to ghazal, I understand. It's like semi-classical. Then you go to popular music and then Lucky Ali kind of songs. How did that happen?
So again, like I said, Bombay, right?
I see.
Bombay made it all happen. In the Carnatic world, the time that I was growing up, we had a very closed set of friends that were all Carnatic musicians. They either sang or played the violin, mandolin, variety of percussion instruments. And a lot of them, more than me, I would say, were actively involved in, like bands. They would play with jazz musicians.
I see.
And they would play for ads, and there was a lot. They were very, very creative group. And so through one of them, Vivek Rajagopalan, who's he's an amazing mridangam artist. He used to play in Lucky Ali's band. And of course, we would all tag along, right? The rest of us would. It was a group of friends, and we all just kind of hopped from place to place together. So we tagged along, and that's how I got to know Lucky Ali. And when he was asked to do a couple of songs for the movie, he just said, "I'm bringing in my own band," and then they needed a female voice, and so he asked if I could sing, and that's how that came about.
It's not just a movie. Kaho Na Pyaar Hai. Hrithik Roshan,
Yes.
right, is one of the
Amisha Patel.
Amisha Patel, yeah.
Yes.
So it is one of the major. You were
It's a
lucky.
lovely song too.
Yeah.
Na tum jano na hum.
There you go.
So lovely. That's a great
Amazing.
story there.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Well, so you mentioned singing, Carnatic music, classical, Bollywood singing. You also mentioned Bharathanatyam and as well as broader dance choreography and communicating feelings and thoughts through dance. On the Rave Show, we love to know about all aspects of our guests. So what else do you do besides these amazing things, Ramya?
Yeah.
So more and more, I think, I mean, you brought about a really good point, communication. I think that's what, I mean, that's what your show is doing, and that's what all art or anything that we do in life is all about, right? And how you communicate. So I'm very interested in, using the techniques of dance and music that I have been trained in and have been practicing to develop these forms of self-expression in children and adults, especially those with disability. So that's one aspect. The other thing that I have been involved in and has been very closely related to any of the work that I do is Samskrita Bharati. So the study of Sanskritam, as the revival of Sanskritam as a spoken language, and then teaching it to children. So that takes up a huge chunk of my life. And more recently, I would say some painting. I've been getting back
Okay.
to the visual art side that I've always wanted to
I can see that
pursue.
over there.
Yes.
Is that a mural that you painted? Or? Okay.
Yes, that is a mural in the
Okay.
Varli style.
I see.
It's a tribal style from Maharashtra.
Oh, nice.
And this, I cannot take credit for it all by myself, but I owe a huge thanks to my partner and collaborator Sampada Agarwal, who
I see.
I just went. She's a fantastic artist in many styles of art, and I was taking workshops with her. A grant opportunity came up, and I asked her if she was interested. And we brainstormed with the people who were awarding the grant, and we came up with this idea of
It looks
just
so
talking
beautiful.
about the history of Durham through a mural. And yeah, that's how that happened.
That's beautiful.
It's amazing. And what a great way to bring our Indian aspects, the Worli
got
art
it.
form, that's a tribal art form,
Absolutely.
to centerpiece in Raleigh, Durham. So kudos to you, Ramya.
Desiness was brought to USA, right?
Yes.
Through a singer, Bharathanatyam, dancer,
An
and
artist.
what more I don't know. So that's where I'm going there. Okay, so so I'm watching this, right? We have limited time also, so I have so many questions,
Sure.
but this I want to ask.
Yes, do. Please do. He always has
I
some.
always have some questions, right? So I heard you being a dancer. I have no questions about it. Carnatic singing and dancing, and then you referred about your Bollywood singing also. So one aspect that you have not touched upon, maybe you will get into. This is what I want to ask you. Any time in the future, maybe immediate future or the long-term future, are you going to become a Bollywood actress?
Oh, big question. While awkward is what I'd say. But hey, we all go with bucket lists, right? I have a
Right.
long bucket list of things to do. This is on it.
This is on
Why
it?
not?
Oh, amazing. So
Great.
that's a positive note, right? So we can probably
Yeah.
see you in a Kaho Na Pyaar Hai #2. I don't know if that's what's it called?
Part two?
Part 2. If there is,
Alright.
then I probably could see you singing and acting in it,
Yes.
right? As a heroine, right? But
Yeah,
so
get on
Ramya,
it right away.
Ramya, it has been so great talking to you. Right, we have limited time here, as you know, but we would like to talk to you in another number of parts, episodes coming up. But thank you for taking time to share your personal journey as well as your artistic journey with us, and wishing you the best in everything that you do.
Thank you, Ramya. Thank you for coming on the Rave Show. Pleasure talking to you again.